So Monday the 24th of February, it's 10 degrees at least, t-shirt on, weather's great, fish about. I've been breamed out the last 36 hours, started a couple of nights ago, absolutely crap myself, thought it was the first carp of the year, but you tend to get a feel with these runs on the canal. What you tend to find, or what I've found in my experience, is if the bobbin comes up to the top and stops, tends to be a bream. The bobbin comes up and carries on, tends to be a carp. Tends to be. That's the general rule. So you get a bit of a feel. So as soon as the alarm went, within a few seconds I sort of knew it was a bream. But when I got to the rod, it actually took a bit of line. So I wasn't quite sure, but it was a big bream. So that was that. But I was buzzing because it was the first bit of anything in so long. Know the rigs are working, know the bait's being eaten, know then I can put some more in, and maybe there's a few carp about, because in my experience, one of the definite patterns I found over the years of doing this is where there's bream, there does tend to be some carp. So watch this space. Looking forward to the next couple of days. Back to work today, so it's back to the normal routine. I'll be walking for a couple of hours with him down the canal now. Probably going to go that way. Probably not going to take you with me because there's nothing to report, and I want to get a bit of a sweat on this morning, so I don't want to be faffing around with the camera and stuff. I will be going home, restock. Oh, I know, you told me. I know. You know the pain then, don't you? You understand the pain. Was yours naughty? Was yours naughty? Oh, you told me she wasn't well. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah, amazing that. Oh, we'll run and run and run and run and run this thing. Oh. Yeah. And what, you're in that marina now, are you? Right. Right. I'm going up to Talton it's coming out in April to get thingy blacked. I'm going into St Mary's, yeah. Yeah, I like it up there. I might spend a bit of time up there.
Many months later.
Fair play to them. Well, I've got to get in with him and then we've got to get out for our walk. Must be 11 o'clock in a minute, in a bit. So I'm sorry to hear that about him.
Yeah.
But you know, well, on it probably needs a new. I'm after the fish, and the fish have started showing up now with the weather changing a little bit. So I'm probably going to come back.
When he's been?
When he's gone past you. See you later. So, what an interesting conversation that was. Got to be respectful. Offer at a time. She wanted to have a natter. See her now and again. And I'm not sure if you caught what she said when she walked past earlier, which I thought was really nice. Hope the camera caught it. I've been just moving about. Found out some information about the marina and maybe its future, and quite interesting. Need to get off to my walk. Never know, fingers crossed. Hopefully a carp might make an appearance this week. What an absolutely beautiful late winter, early spring morning. Friday the 28th of February. It's about 9 in the morning. It's about 9 degrees. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day, but it was white this morning. I would describe these as the last frosts. But the weather's definitely on the turn, which is great. And I thought the fish were on the munch as well last weekend. I got breamed out, but I've not had a single thing since then. And that's one of the main frustrations and challenges about fishing the canal. It's so unpredictable. You think something's going to happen and it doesn't. As I said, the winds came last weekend, the temperatures rose quite considerably, and the bream switched on. So my natural assumption is that there might be a few carp about. So I was brimming with confidence last weekend, beginning of last week. I always prefer fishing on the canal midweek because it's a lot quieter. The banks are quieter. The activity on the water is quieter. Once the weekend comes, and especially once the weather turns, the activity increases quite a lot. And it's great to see people up and down the canal. I've never seen it in better condition, which is amazing. But I don't think it does the fishing any good. As it gets more and more crowded, I tend to fish, or find the quieter and quieter spots. So, this is a particularly popular area because there's just, there's a marina just there, there's a cafe, people come and visit, they come for a walk, they, as you noticed, they like to chat, and that's great as well. The approach to the fishing slightly changes as the weather changes. I've been trying to spend as much time as possible here over the winter because, to be honest with you, there's not much else to do. And I know from experience that carp fishing in the winter can be a little bit more time focused. So, the fish often have far less feeding spells and they're far less predictable. I know on our syndicate, bite time changes all the time through the winter. They seem to switch on for a couple of hours and then go quiet for any amount of time. Could be a couple of days, dependent on the weather. So I'm making the same assumption that what goes on there will probably be the same here. Well, I can't think any other way really. So that's why I've spent as much time as I possibly can over the winter. But as we get into the warmer months, I have other things going on and I have other hobbies. I'm into my cars and my motorbikes. And I've not done any of that over the winter. It's either quite late on in the evening or it's quite early in the morning. Carp are carp at the end of the day. So whether they're in a canal or the syndicate, you know, first light and last light always seem to be the better sort of bite times, if you like. That's going to be my approach from, well, as soon as I start catching them really. So as soon as they're awake, I'll be coming here a bit later and then I'll probably be off 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning. I'll be doing other things. Quite excited about a bit of change. I'm not quite ready to admit failure for the winter. If I was to get one soon, I would be, well, if I was to get one anytime, I would be buzzing. I sort of expected it was going to be difficult over the winter. And what I've also decided is next winter, I'm going to do a whole winter in a marina. Probably not this one. Could be this one, but more likely another one. So that's something to look forward to, because if I'm fishing in the marina, then I can pre-bait spots and, you know, I'd like to think the chances are going to be a bit higher. Next winter's going to be interesting. Got to get through this spring and this summer first. Really looking forward to that. Hope you like and subscribe and follow along with me. And fingers crossed for the carp soon. Tight lines if you're fishing over the weekend. One of the things I love about canal carp fishing is the mysteriousness. The fact that the code is so difficult to crack. The fish, so hard to predict. The stock, clearly quite low. I know I've just come through the winter and I know it's the hardest time of year to catch carp, but even in the spring and the summer, they don't give themselves up very easily. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of application to be successful carp fishing on the canal. So any edge or any tip that I feel is worth passing on, I'll be sure to pass it on. And what's better is if another person spots the same thing, then it must be a good tip. I've recently come across another YouTuber called Jim Lightfoot. If you don't know him, check him out. He fishes for carp and pike across England and France with his wife Shaz. And he pretty much does a very similar thing to what I do. He's also from the northwest of England where I'm from, although not local to me. His local stretch of canal is not too far away, but certainly somewhere that I would like to fish in the future. However, right now that's impossible because a couple of months ago it had a really serious breach and it's currently empty. So he's devastated, as you can imagine. And he's released a video recently with himself and his wife having a walk down the empty canal. And I found it really, really interesting because it helped, and we're always learning. But it also confirmed some of the main sort of observations that I've noticed over the years as well. So whenever I've caught carp from the canal and they've had to go in the sack, maybe I've had one in the night or early in the morning and it's been dark and I've wanted to get some pictures, so I'll put it in the sack for a couple of hours. But what I've noticed almost all of the time is the fish will always leave remnants of shells and snails, mollusks, lots of them as well. So I've come to the conclusion that these shells and these mollusks must be the main staple diet of the carp. So over the past couple of years where I've been thinking about where I want to fish, I've not been thinking too much about the normal considerations, the stick-ups, the boats, you know, those places that you would naturally tend to. I've been trying to find out where these shells and these mollusks are growing, and what Jim Lightfoot's video gave is a clear indication of where they are. So cheers mate, I appreciate that. It's obviously confirmed probably what a lot of people who fish on the Canal for carp do anyway. But if I could give a top tip today, to look for those margins, look for those bankside areas of the canal where the margin is not the stone, the built up stone, which is what most of the network's margin is made from, but more the vertical concrete or corrugated bankside. So where there's a bridge, or where there's a swing bridge, or where there's some permanent moorings, you'll find this corrugated iron goes down, and what it does is it creates a vertical margin, which means at the bottom of that vertical margin there's a place for these shells and these mollusks to grow. And from Jim's videos you can clearly see they're the areas where the mollusks are, so they're the areas where the carp are going to be feeding. And as he said in his video, a couple of inches away from the bank, your bait is sat with those shells. So my top tip for carp fishing on the canal, if you're serious about catching some carp in the canal, look for those margins that are vertical, fish with smelly baits with maybe some shells in, and fish really, really close to the margin. And I'm sure that'll increase the chances of you catching one or two this year. So tight lines and good luck with your angling. Only 5 minutes ago, I was banging on about how unpredictable the fishing was on the Leeds Liverpool Canal. I was also talking about how the bites come in the morning, first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening. It's now 1:30. I'm just packing my stuff up and my left hand rod has just literally rolled off and I'm chuffed to bits. Wow. So there you go. 5 minutes ago I was talking about how the bites only come at first light or in the evening. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. Beautiful, bright, sunny, late winter's day. And I've caught the first carp of the year. Not a monster by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a typical canal warrior. Little belter, clearly showing some battle scars. But what a great fish to start 2025 with in February as well. What a beautiful little fish. Not the prettiest in the world, but for me, a major milestone. I've never caught a fish out the Leeds Liverpool Canal in February in winter. So I'm claiming I've caught a winter carp, and I hope you agree. But right now I'm absolutely chuffed to bits. I've not caught a fish on this water since before November, and I spend a lot of time here. So to get this little fella 5 minutes before I go missing for a few days is absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to come back here on Monday now. I'll be putting a bit of bait in for the weekend. And come on, 2025, first fish of 2025, end of February, happy flipping days.